What's happening, everybody? Pastor Scott here again this week with another video. You could probably tell that I'm not in my usual location. That's because I'm down here at Camp San Luis Obispo. It's an army post in the central part of California. I'm down here for a little military trip, but I did not want to forget about my online family. And so here I am in my hotel room filming a video for this week to make sure we get a chance to connect with that Bible together. Before I get started, I do want to send a shout out. You can see I'm wearing my 129th Rescue Wing t-shirt today. I'd just like to give a shout out to our group who went down off the coast of Mexico a few days back into some really torturous, awful conditions, and they were able to save, I think, 10 or more people down there off a drowning in the ocean, off a really terrible incident. So shout out to the 129th Rescue Wing. You know, our motto in rescue is these things we do that others may live. And it always reminds me of the mission of the church, because Jesus said he came to seek and save that which was lost. So for me, as a chaplain with a group in the rescue business, it really is kind of cool to be a Christian, looking to be as much like Christ as I can, looking to help seek and save those who are lost. And then also in my military mission, getting to be part of a group who's out there trying to seek and save those that would be lost and not be able to make it home to their families unless someone came to rescue them. So shout out to them. And also just shout out to my RBS family, the Rescue Bible Study. I know you guys have been tuning in, and it was great to be on base with a lot of you this weekend, getting to just connect with you in person. But in our Bible study, we say these things he does that we may live. And so I'm just kind of feeling the whole rescue vibe today. But just shout out to everybody at the 129th and the Rescue Bible Study family. I love you all. And I love everybody else who's watching too. But I just thought I would mention that. What a great thing that people who weren't going to make it home get to make it home now. If you have your Bibles, you can open up to Matthew chapter 10, and we're going to get started this week. This has got to be quick because I'm on a limited schedule, so I want to make sure we get right into it. But I want to talk about a conversation that I had with a friend, and I know you're watching, bro, so I won't say your name, but just know that our conversation sparked this video. He's considering the possibility of taking a new job, and he's kind of kicking around the idea of finishing Bible college and becoming a minister. And what if I take this job? And what if I take this job? Where are my ministry opportunities versus what if I end up in a secular job? And I have this conversation with people all the time, and they ask me the question, what if I feel called to minister, but I don't get to work for a church, or I'm not an evangelist or a missionary or a pastor, or I don't have fancy degrees, or I'm not ordained? That's what I want to talk to you about this week. Because as believers, you know that we are all called to go and example Christ, to be ready to give an answer in season and out of season for the reason, for the hope that we have. And if that's too fancy Bible talk, what I mean is when you're out there and people see the difference in you, the way you live, the joy you have, the peace you have, the hope you have, and they say, hey man, what is it that's different about you? We got to be ready to answer that question. And you don't have to be an ordained minister with any kind of fancy degrees to be able to do that. And I want to give you some encouragement this week on what that can look like. So let's get into Matthew chapter 10. This starts in verse 5. I'm reading from the English Standard Version, but of course you can follow along in any Bible that you've got. Let's start with verse 5, and we'll go through 14. Then Jesus sent out these 12, instructing them, "Go nowhere among the Gentiles, and enter no town of the Samaritans, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and proclaim as you go, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. You received without paying, give without pay. Acquire no gold or silver or copper for your belts, no bag for your journey, or 2 tunics, or sandals, or a staff, for the laborer deserves his food. And whatever town or village you enter, find out who is worthy in it, and stay there until you depart. And enter the house and greet it. And if the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you." Verse 14. And if anyone will not receive you or listen to your words, shake off the dust from your feet when you leave that house or town. Now look, this is some pretty simple stuff. It sounds pretty complicated, but when we really break down what Jesus is saying here, this gets at the heart of what I'm talking about this week. So here's a couple of things that you can take into consideration when you try to figure out, I really feel like I'm supposed to minister, but how do I do that when I'm not the pastor or the evangelist, or I'm not ordained, or I don't have degrees, or I don't work for a church or a ministry? Well, let's look at what Jesus says to his disciples when he goes to send them out. And the first thing I'm going to mention is if you're going to be a minister, you got to start right where you are. A lot of us have work, job, family, friends, our neighborhood, community groups that we're a part of. There are plenty of places that you can be a minister for the gospel without having to have any kind of fancy title or degree or professional work that you're doing as a minister. You got to start right there. Jesus said, don't go out to the Gentiles and don't go into any of the towns of the Samaritans. Start right here with the lost sheep of Israel, right here in your own neighborhood, in your own place. Do the work here. And I think that was important for Jesus giving instruction to his disciples to say, hey, look, you're probably going to end up on a very long journey doing a lot of work over a lot of period of time. And don't worry about that. Just start right here. There's so many people that you could be serving right here in the community that need this message of hope and truth and love. And you don't have to go some far exotic place. So for you at home, what does that mean? Well, start at work. Start with your family. Start with one of your friends. Somebody from the gym that you see, or maybe if you go play golf, or when you're out walking in the park, or if you go out to, where you're walking your dog and you see people in the neighborhood. Just start with little conversations and, just make the effort to get out there in whatever your own little circle of your world looks like. Start there. And I think you can find that there's a lot of opportunities waiting for you out there. The second thing I want to say is that once you do that, once you figure out where your circle is, then you got to do the work. Okay? Jesus tells his guys, start right here. But then he says, tell them the kingdom of God is at hand. Pray for the sick, heal the lepers, cast out demons. Start doing the work of the ministry. Now let me stop here and just say, I don't expect that probably many of you are going to go to your work and, maybe go into the break room and ready to say, hey, anybody who needs casting out of demons, come holler at me. I got a break at 12. I don't think it's probably going to go like that, but the point is the same. Start where you are, but as you go, begin doing the work. And I think about when I'm on the road in traffic, especially when I got someplace to be and it's so jam-packed on the freeway, I start looking for what I call easy targets or an easy mark or a place to start. Just looking around, seeing, I think this guy's going to go a little slow. That guy's occupied with his phone. This person up there is distracted by something. And I'm looking for the place where as soon as there's that little opening, I'm right in there. And I think that's what we have to do when we're in conversations at work or with our friends. They may say something that sparks a question. They may bring up a topic. They may just flat out ask you, hey, I know you're the church guy. What do you think about this? Or, hey, you're a Christian, right? What do you do when your life is a mess? You'll find out that the more people know about you and who you are and what you are, the more they will come to you when their life hits crisis. But we got to be looking for those opportunities. So as you go, be looking for a place where you can share little things, dropping little bits of knowledge or parts of your testimony or little pieces of your story. But as you go, do the work, share, and minister. The third thing I want to point out, and this is what we see at the end of this passage. Okay, he says, look, if anybody doesn't receive you, shake the dust off your feet and move on. Okay? You cannot be afraid to fail. We are not called to save people's souls. We are not called to make decisions for people about what they are going to do with spirituality, religion, God, Jesus, the Bible, eternity. We're not responsible for those decisions. What we're responsible for is to follow the call that Jesus gave us to go and share the good news with a dying world. But if somebody doesn't receive it, shoot, I've gone around, I've had doors slammed in my face. I've had people cuss me out, say, get that Christian nonsense away from me, and a lot worse. I've seen people get the Bible knocked right out of their hand. I've seen people be threatened physically, all kinds of stuff. Not everybody that you end up sharing some kind of piece of the good news with is going to be super stoked on hearing about it. And when they don't react the way you think they should or the way you're hoping they will, don't worry about it. Your job is to be faithful to share. Your job is not to save people's souls. So if you face some resistance, don't worry about it. You just kind of got to shake the dust off your feet and move on. Go to the next place and the next place and the next place, and never stop being excited about the fact that God has put the truth and the joy and the love of Jesus Christ in your heart, and that you have the opportunity to share that with the world around you. Now, let me give you a couple of things just to remember as we go, and I'll wrap this up. Number one, being right where you are doesn't mean being like where you are. If you saw my last video, you know that I said if what they witness doesn't hold up, your witness won't hold up. In 2 Corinthians 6:17, we see a reminder from the Old Testament that says, you are supposed to come out from among the world and be separate. We are supposed to be in and among the world, but we are not supposed to be like them. We're supposed to be like Christ. So starting right where you are doesn't mean being like right where you are. We are supposed to come out from among the world and be separate. People need to see what's different about us. Secondly, sharing and ministering doesn't mean smashing people over the head with the constant Jesus assault and battery every chance you get to open your mouth. Anybody who's been at work and talked a little too much about religion or politics or whatever finds out exactly how people feel about that, and maybe even how your HR department feels about that. You can blow relationships with your neighbors and people around you if every time they see you, they're going, oh man, here comes the Jesus guy again. Okay? I don't want us to be afraid or ashamed of who we are in Christ, but we can't be the one walking around with the hammer, just smashing people over the head every chance we get. Share, minister, do the work, look for those opportunities, but be reasonable about it. Okay? And the last thing I'll say is when you fail, don't just write those people off forever. Shake the dust off your feet and move on, but that doesn't mean you can't circle back, especially when some of the people you're sharing with might be really close friends or family. What are you going to do? Say, I tried to share Jesus with my cousin 3 times. 3 strikes, he's out, he can go find Jesus on his own. Oh, we can't just write people off. There will be times when it's made very clear to you. Someone may say, do not ever speak to me about that stuff again. And then even then we might try to circle back on the down low and see if we can keep sprinkling in a little bit of that gospel love. But being where you are doesn't mean being like where you are. Sharing and ministering doesn't mean bashing people over the head all the time with the gospel. And then when you fail, don't just write people off. Remember, the important thing is to serve. And this is the last thing I'll say. When I was in high school, I was part of a Bible club. There was also a club at school that was a secular club called the Gay Straight Alliance. Okay, I think the GSA is still a thing on high schools. And it was a group meant to kind of bridge the gap between gay students, straight students, make sure everybody felt like they had a safe place to be and nobody was ostracized. Okay, our club tried to have a slice of pizza and a 2-liter bottle of Coke to try to get people to come to Bible study. And we had marginal success. We had some people would come. Sometimes people would come in to get a slice of pizza. And we would try to do events and other things. And we kind of got a lot of pushback from the school because, those weirdo Christians are always wanting to do whatever. And I don't know if we should support that because it's all religious-y and whatever. The GSA, instead of slice of pizza, and they did some of that stuff too, but they were always organizing to go clean up the cafeteria, to wipe down chalkboards in the classroom after school, to go after the football game and clean all the trash and stuff out of the bleachers, or to be out on the field cleaning everything up. They were volunteering to stay after school and help clean up the campus or work on service projects. And they had tons of attendance. They got so much love from the school. They constantly got a budget, and they were given access to equipment and classrooms and facilities to have their events. They were very successful, and really the difference between them and us is we were trying to get people to come over some gimmicks, and they were about the business of serving the school. Brings me to my final point. If you want to be great, doing great work and great things for God, greatness in the kingdom is defined by service. In Mark chapter 10, this is verse 42 through 45, says this: Jesus called them to him and said, "You know that those who are considered rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you. But whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and give his life as a ransom for many." You want to do great things for God? Find ways to serve people. Don't just hammer them over the head with the Bible. Figure out things that people need. Figure out needs in your community, needs in your church, needs at work, areas where you can serve. You don't just have to be blasting the gospel all the time to be having an impact for Jesus. You want to be great in the kingdom? Jesus said we got to serve. So firstly, start right where you are. Figure out people, friends, family, neighborhood, and just begin there. When you find those little openings, like the spots in traffic where you can slide right into the next spot, when you find those openings, do the work. Share, minister, be there for people, share the gospel, share your testimony. Don't smash people over the head. Just find the little spots and do the work. Don't be afraid to fail. When it happens, shake the dust off and move on. But being where you are doesn't mean being like where you are. People got to know what's different about us. Secondly, when you do the work, it doesn't mean constantly smashing and assaulting people with the gospel. And lastly, when you do fail, when people aren't receptive, make sure you don't just write them off. Jesus is the God of second and third and fourth and fifth and 10,000th chances. Let us be people who serve in that capacity as well. And then lastly, find places where you can serve. You want to be great? Be like Jesus. Be the servant of all. If you have anything that you would like me to pray for, or any conversation, discussions you'd like to have, something you want to hit me up about, please hit me up on social media. I'm at Scott Slater everywhere. I'm probably most active on Twitter and Instagram, and right here on YouTube. A little bit on Facebook too, but it's the same, Scott Slater everywhere. Hit me up. Love to chat with you. And if you find anything useful about these videos or this content, I would ask that maybe you consider subscribing to the channel and tell your friends to do the same thing. When you subscribe, go ahead and hit a like on this video, maybe give it a thumbs up, and hit the little notification bell. It'll send a reminder to you of anytime I go live or post a new video. I love you all. I'm down here for about a week. I'm hoping to be able to film another video to have something up on Monday. You can pray for me while I'm down here in San Luis Obispo doing some chaplain training. And until next time, love you all. Bless you all. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.